What is going on, everybody? It's Kyle Long. I'm joined alongside Pete Prisco. This is Pushing the Pile. We are without our buddy Mike Renner, so we're going to do a 3-second moment of silence because he usually likes to do the moment of silence. Pete is scouting the future pros of the NFL right now.
Does he know who Wally Pipp is?
Wally Pipp, yeah, that's what happens. Well, this show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more, especially when your teammate fails to show up, and we can just do this together. Okay, so we're going to start with first off the ball in this Pete's Power Rankings episode. First off the ball, we're going to talk about the exodus in Detroit. In terms of their coaching staff, there's been a lot of poaching there in Detroit. Offensive coordinator out the building, defensive coordinator out the building. Dan Campbell left with his hands in the air. What the hell are we going to do moving forward? Well, the Lions are expected to hire John Morton as the offensive coordinator. What do you know about John Morton? Do you like the move?
He was a wide receiver on the Jacksonville Jaguars' first ever team in 1995 for about a cup of coffee.
I got a cup of coffee right here.
Was
it as big as this cup of coffee? Bigger?
It might have been smaller than that.
Euro yeah. Cup of coffee.
And then he bounced around and never really stuck as a player, but he's bounced around the league as a coach. And Dan Campbell had him on his staff in Detroit a couple years ago, and they have a relationship, and he knows the offense. I'm surprised because I thought they would always promote somebody
within to keep the culture,
and they didn't, but he is part of the culture. He was there with him, so it is technically kind of a hire that he's very familiar with. So has a good reputation for an offensive mind. Was the Jets offensive coordinator for a while, but who knows? Again, it's Ben Johnson was on an elite level calling plays. Can you get to that? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think anybody will be able to match that creativity that Ben Johnson brought to Detroit, but to your point about culture, the Lions have done a good job promoting guys from within in Detroit to be able to maintain some semblance of the 2024 Detroit Lions culture. And we know they're going to get healthy on defense. So it's not like the offense is going to be the thing that holds up this entire thing. They're going to be complemented by a healthier defense next year. So John Morton expected to be the offensive coordinator there. I do like that move. We're going to move on to the Bears. They hired a super young offensive coordinator, Declan Coyle. It's like they went to some pub in Ireland and pulled a 28-year-old guy out of there who was smashing Guinness.
And he's one of those guys when you talk to people around the league as the rising star.
He is a rising star.
Yeah. And look, it's young. And we've got to the point now where 29, 30 isn't young anymore by coaching standards. If you're bright and you're particularly if you're on the offensive side of the ball, you see a lot of guys.
He was the tight ends coach in Denver.
Right.
And he was part of that group in 2015 where they won the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning.
Yes. And he's been around Sean Payton. So he has a relationship with that kind of offense. And I think, a lot of times, where's the paths cross, right? You have to look and see where does the paths cross with Ben Johnson? Where does that come from?
No idea.
I think there was a relationship. I think they were on the Dolphins staff together.
Got it.
And
probably when Declan Coyle was 14.
Yeah, I think it's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean these guys are whiz kids.
We looked at Kevin O'Connell a couple of years ago. I was doing the podcast with my older brother. Shout out to Greenlight Podcast. Shout out to Chris Long, and he was essentially like, "What the f am I doing with my life? I'm the same age as Kevin O'Connell, and he's out there wearing purple, calling plays, leading an organization. Now I'm looking at this guy Declan Coyle, and he's like 28 years old, and he's going to be in position to work with Caleb Williams, the number one pick from last year." And he's essentially in charge of getting this thing rolling offensively.
But you know who's going to be calling, though.
Yeah. Well, look, Ben Johnson is going to have his hands in everything. And obviously, he's going to be the one installing and calling plays. But you need somebody as the go-between with your quarterback. You go look at Kansas City. You watch the game you watch the TV copy of these games. And sometimes you see Andy Reid talk to Patrick Mahomes. No. But more often than not, it's Matt Nagy.
Of course.
It's a number of assistant coaches who are earpieces and mouthpieces for Andy Reid. So this guy, Declan Coyle, obviously well trusted by Ben Johnson. And as a Bears fan, I'm excited. I like the youth movement. I think it's a big thing for Chicago. Moving on. Aaron Rodgers to come back to the Jets? Question mark. We heard Aaron Glenn say, we're going to take a look at all this stuff. What have you heard about Aaron Rodgers' future in New York?
Well, it makes sense to bring him back. I thought he played much better football down the stretch. Not only that, he looked healthier. I think he was bothered more by the Achilles early in the season than they let on. He let on. It took him a while. Remember all that talk about the year before he was going to come back at the end of the season? No, he wasn't. And he wasn't the same guy early in the season. He got better at the end. And so you look at it, he's got, $49 million dead money to let him go. You can spread that out and take, I think it's 15 this year and 35 or 35, whatever. You can spread it out over the course of the two seasons if you designated a post June 1 cap casualty. But why not bring him back? What else do you have? Leger keeps pumping up Tyrod Taylor. He's a stopgap. You can't win consistently with Tyrod Taylor.
He's a strong bridge.
He's a strong 4-game quarterback. That's what he is. Everybody wants the bridge to start all season. No, the bridge needs to have 4 games. If you get 4 games out of the bridge and he does well, and you go 3-1 or 2-2, you're thrilled with it. That's what Tyrod Taylor is. So I think they need to bring Rodgers back because what else is out there? They're not going to be in a position to draft one of the top ones. Now, Jackson Dart is a guy to keep an eye on, moving up the boards. I think the quarterback at Syracuse is moving up the board. So
good player.
Yeah, so you can find some quarterbacks down the road a little bit if you want to try at that angle. But the first and second one, they're not going to get those two. So what do? Sam Darnold, not going to bring him back. Where do you get a quarter? Russell Wilson, you want him?
Yeah.
I'd rather have Aaron Rodgers. So I think it makes sense for them to bring him back.
Look, at the end of the day, the thing that left us scratching our heads more than anything this past season was Robert Saleh being fired in the first quarter of the season and the subsequent decomposition of that locker room, the fall off of that defense. Obviously, Ulbrich becoming the interim head coach, the coordinator now in charge of the entire roster, and the strengths of the team became the weaknesses of the team. There were more question marks than answers. And to your point about Aaron Rodgers, I think he did a good enough job at the end of the year. And to your point about his health, we judge position players. We always give them a year benefit of the doubt coming off these lower body injuries. Well, you should give a year and 2 months to the 40-year-olds who are coming off lower body injuries. And to his credit, they got better at the end of the season. So Aaron Glenn comes in to be the head coach. Obviously, that defense is going to be nails again. There's no doubt about it. What do you need to bolster a good defense? A good enough quarterback. And at this point in his career, Aaron Rodgers has seen everything. He's done everything. And now it's his time to just bolster and not be the hero of the team. We can't put him on the pedestal. Put Aaron Glenn and his defense on the pedestal and let Aaron be the complement to that. And also, we had big time complaints about the offensive play calling, the style of offense. They need to move into the 21st century in order to make this thing have some semblance of success.
Well, part of that is on him because he doesn't like movement before, he doesn't like a lot of motion before the snap. He's never has. So they need to get with the times when it comes to that. The owner needs to quit meddling as much as he does. And I'll go back to a story I heard during this whole process is he made Saleh fire Mike LaFleur. I mean, come on. They fired Mike LaFleur as the offensive coordinator, and he had a hard time filling that position because you want to work with that organization when you're going to get fired like that. So that's why he ended up with Hackett. That's part of the reason why he ended up with Hackett. So I think the owner needs to back away, and I think Rodgers makes sense to come back because sometimes it's just so easy to say, "Oh, Rodgers shouldn't come back."
If not, then who?
What's your
Trask
answer?
Always says that. If not him, then who?
How do you fix it?
Yeah.
What do you fix it? How are you fixing it? Are you better if you go get Russell Wilson? He's not better.
Yeah.
No. So, and the free agency class isn't good at the quarter. Sam Darnold, you can't bring him back. There's no way in hell the Jets are admitting that mistake.
Yeah. Well, that's our first off the ball segment. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we've got the power rankings to go through. And there's a lot of them, and they're all a little bit different than we usually do. So stick around. We'll see you shortly.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale! Wonderful goal!
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
Okay, we are back after a short break. Again, it's Pete Prisco, and I'm Kyle Long, and it's the Tuesday Power Ranking edition of Pushing the Pile. Right now, we're going to do some power ranking of some different things, head coaching hires, desirability of OC openings. But we're going to start out with ranking the eliminated playoff teams' chances to make Super Bowl 60. That'll be next year. Let's power rank these teams. If you want to go first, be my guest, Pete.
Okay, so I'm going to go just my number one. Or am I going to go through the list?
I got all.
You got a list, but how do we want to unveil it?
Let's go. You go all your teams in order. Or if you want me to start, I can go with my teams first.
I'll do mine.
Okay.
Bills, Ravens, Lions, Packers.
Yep.
Rams. I think that team's on the rise. Bucks.
They got to make a decision on that.
Chargers, Vikings, Broncos, Steelers.
Here's the deal. You started with the Bills, and I think that's a great spot to start because what was the gripe about the Bills this year is that they didn't have enough firepower outside of Josh Allen. Well, they're going to do their due diligence and be able to bolster that football team. I've got the Bills at number 1, too.
Do they go get a receiver? Or is Cooper? What?
I think Cooper is what he is right now.
Not very fast.
Cooper is what he is. So you're going to have to potentially go get somebody to help out with Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, and Amari Cooper.
And by the way, Kincaid was a major disappointment this year. Now we hear you see Dawson Knox said he had one knee that was a bad knee, and he's got it fluid all in the other.
Dawson or Dalton?
No,
Dawson said about Dalton.
Dalton never made the excuse. Dawson Knox came up and said, look, he had bad knee on the right side. They knew about that. He missed time with it. But his other knee has fluid all over it. Something's wrong with that one as well.
That's a really good teammate move by Dawson Knox because as Dalton Kincaid, you would never go out and make an excuse about something like that. But total homie move to be like, hey, there
had to be something wrong with him.
My guy was jacked
I was in training camp with them, and I watched him in practice. I thought nobody would cover him. I thought he'd cover 120, catch 120 passes, and he didn't come close to that. So, by the way, that was a touchdown. If they block it right, if they slide the protection to the right, he is wide open.
He had to come back 6 yards for that football.
But and they even let him there was time they let him to make a play on the ball, but he's gone for a touchdown.
He's got to have that ball.
He's got to catch it.
He's got to catch that.
Oh, he's got to catch it.
That sucks. I'd probably between Mark Andrews and
Kincaid.
I don't know who I feel worse for.
Well, one was an easier catch.
One was a layup.
One was an easier
and
catch.
one was a toss-up.
Yeah. Well, the other one, he's actually running in that direction, so he has to come back and turn around. Mark Andrews' catch was a lot easier.
Yeah, that's tough. So I've got in my order, I've got Bills, Commanders, Ravens, Lions, Packers, Texans, Vikings, Chargers, Broncos, Steelers.
So we're in agreement. We're in agreement on the Steelers being the bottom of the group.
Yeah, we are.
Well,
until proven otherwise.
Right. And they weren't very good this year. They just kind of won games somehow. You look inside their numbers, they didn't do a lot of things well. And who's the quarterback? That's the question.
And I've got the Broncos obviously ahead of the Steelers. Great offensive line, a young quarterback who has been on the up and up. And then I've got the Chargers ahead of them. I think that the playoff showing that we saw from the Los Angeles Chargers was a bit fluky. They were flat. They were outmatched. I think with everything going on in Los Angeles, it could have served as a pretty big distraction. Obviously, the Rams weren't distracted by it. But this Chargers team, for some reason, was flat against the Texans. Justin Herbert peed down his leg a little bit.
Who plays quarterback for the Vikings?
I've got the J.J. McCarthy playing quarterback.
And you still have him ahead of the Chargers, huh?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, see, I don't. I'm not enamored with J.J. McCarthy like everybody else is.
You know what? Let's just find out. I mean, I had to put him on the list somewhere. Texans, I heard Chip Kelly is a hot name for offensive coordinator.
Might go to Jacksonville too.
That would be awesome.
Coach. They're kind of battling for him, from what I hear.
And you know what? People bitch all the time about Chip Kelly. I hear former players complain about. I'll tell you what. I'm a former player of Chip Kelly, and there wasn't a game where I stepped off the bus to go into the stadium where I didn't think we were going to beat the shit out of another defense.
Prepared, right?
Because we were prepared,
right? And
he's the guy that got into my head. You sink to the level of your preparation when times are tough, like the Navy SEALs, like Special Forces. When the one helicopter goes down, and we were supposed to have two. Well, we got one helicopter down. Let's go make this thing happen.
No, he's not warm and fuzzy or none of that. He's by the book.
Like any great offensive mind, he's a bit socially awkward at times.
Yes.
But my God, you never doubt the fact that he loves his team and he loves to win and he wants to score a lot of points. I love that about Chip Kelly.
By the way, before we get back to this, we've seen a lot of socially awkward, bright offensive minds in the last week, haven't we?
Yeah.
Ben Johnson looked very socially awkward. Liam Cohen looked. No, it was more like, Ooh, boy. They both look so socially awkward, and yet you talk to people around both of them, and they're not. I don't think they remember Sirianni when he got his job. He was socially awkward too.
Adam Gase's introductory press conference. Yeah,
I mean, and having talked to Adam Gase over the years, he wasn't socially awkward at all.
Easy to talk to.
Right. So I just think it's different, and that's why we can't judge these guys based on what they do in front of the camera.
So, the bottom of the list, I've got Steelers, Broncos, Chargers, Vikings, Texans, and I've got the Texans in there because I'm assuming their offense is going to be better next season with C.J. Stroud at quarterback. They're going to shore up some of the issues they've had on the offensive line. We like the defense. I love the edge rushers. Packers are up here in the top 5.
They changed coordinators too. I mean, the fact that they don't have Kubiak, that might be a positive for them.
The Packers are a big letdown. For you, for me, for everybody who picked them.
They're also the youngest team in the league.
And they're going to get older. They're going to get more experienced. And let's just be honest, Jordan Love was banged up the entire season.
All year.
So if he's healthy, he gives them a fighting chance. And
then they go get T. Higgins.
I've got the Lions ahead of the Packers next season. And that's because I truly believe in Dan Campbell's culture. I truly believe in what I've preached the entire season, that they built their roster the right way in terms of the line of scrimmage. They're ass kickers. I know that there's some holes there, and we've talked about it. The guard position, they've got some issues.
Left guard.
Center's good.
Right.
Tackles are good. Well, Taylor Decker's getting old.
Well, left guard's a problem. Right guard's a free agent. Left tackle's getting up in the years.
But I'll tell you this, Dan Campbell is going to instruct management to invest in that offensive line even more.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because they got that guy, Jahmyr Gibbs, and he's special. Yep. You see what Saquon Barkley can do with an on-schedule run, turning it into a home run. They got the same thing there, just in a little bit lesser there with Jahmyr Gibbs.
And plus, they're going to be that much better because they get Hutchinson and McNeil back next year.
I haven't even mentioned the defense, but you're right. I mean, that defense had teeth, big-time teeth.
Like I always say, Aaron Glenn's a hell of a defensive coordinator. I'd rather play defense with Hutchinson and McNeil and not Aaron Glenn than have Aaron Glenn and not have Hutchinson and McNeil.
100%.
Absolutely.
Because it all comes down to Johnny's and Joe's.
Absolutely. Always does.
And having a guy who has the ability to motivate your group. And they have promoted somebody within their organization to be the defensive coordinator. I'm blanking on his name.
Yeah, but they also can, and here's the other thing. Hutchinson's the kind of guy that elevates everybody.
Yes.
Because when you win.
He's a coach on the field.
Correct.
Type.
Yeah.
And then Ravens.
Shepard is who they
Shepard.
Yeah.
And
linebacker.
I loved him on Hard Knocks. I love the way that his group played. And he's a young guy. Totally fits that culture in
Former
terms
linebacker,
of player coach.
Played in the league.
I love that for Dan Campbell. And then I've got the Ravens, obviously, unless Lamar Jackson's been abducted by aliens, which he hasn't. He's going to be on the field next year for them. Derrick Henry, all the same cast of characters that figured out how to play good, solid defensive football for the Ravens. They're coming back for the most part. So I expect the Baltimore Ravens to be in that conversation. And then I've got number 2 as the Washington Commanders.
But you're basing that on the fact that they have a ton of money to spend. And
Commanders.
Yes.
And they have Jaden Daniels.
Right. But they got to get better at spots.
Jaden Daniels didn't shrink in the conference conference championship.
But they got to get better at a lot of spots.
They need to get a lot better at a lot of spots. Yeah. And they will. I trust in that organizational structure right now.
But that's a big jump up there to number 2.
I'll tell you what, they turned the ball over 4 times and none of them were Jaden Daniels' fault. They're going to find out how to take care of that football. They're going to find out how to cover people on the outside, and they're going to find out how to protect this guy, Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, and they see
what they have.
And they have, like I said, they have the ability to go spend in free agency and improve that team.
And number 1, the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen is undeniable. His talent, the way that his team rallies around him, the same things you say about Aiden Hutchinson on the defensive side of the ball, it's Josh Allen on the offensive side of the ball. I'm dear friends with Mitch Trubisky from my time in Chicago with him, and he's obviously the backup to Josh Allen. And I always ask my former teammates about their current teammates, and one of these guys that I ask about all the time is Josh Allen. And Mitch is like, as impressive as Josh Allen is physically, he is even more impressive mentally. His ability to compartmentalize, his ability to have that photographic memory that we hear Sean McVay lauded for oftentimes. You got a quarterback who's 6'7", 250 pounds, who has memorized every look you can give him. Now, obviously, the one look he didn't memorize was the look that Spags gave him on 4th and 5 with 3 minutes remaining in the ball game. ended up bringing the cat blitz, and Josh and the Bills, they weren't ready for it from a protection standpoint. But I love the Bills there. That's our power ranking. So it's Bills, Commanders, Ravens, Lions, Packers, Texans, Vikings, Chargers, Broncos, and bringing up the rear of the Steelers.
Here's the thing about the Bills, and I picked them to go to the Super Bowl this year, and everybody said the window was closed this year. It's never closed as long as that guy's playing quarterback. But here's the other thing. At some point, you have to fix that defense. In 4 losses to the Chiefs, they've given up an average of 34 points, I think it is, in those 4 losses in the playoffs.
It was also the most efficient Patrick Mahomes had ever played. How much of it is the defense's fault? How much of it is just playing against Batman?
But also, that was the most points the Chiefs scored all year, right?
Because you got to be at your best when your best is needed.
But all I'm saying is, I think where was Von Miller? I thought Von Miller would have a day. Where was Greg Russo?
I'll give them credit. The interior of that defensive line really swole up against the Chiefs running game. And there was a number of times where the Chiefs running backs were hitting their head on the door, and the door was the offensive line that had no push. And that game had to come into Patrick Mahomes' hands. We had to distribute the football to a number of different receivers. Xavier Worthy had his best game. Hopkins had a big conversion when they needed it. Kelsey was nowhere to be found until that back shoulder ball on the right sideline. That's the Patrick Mahomes effect.
But also the Chiefs. I mean, the Bills have been chasing the Chiefs, and to beat the Chiefs, you got to knock that guy down.
Yep.
And they did in that one situation where Phillips, just bull rushed into the backfield. But for the most part, the ends were a non-factor.
He took Caliendo on a Disney ride.
Yeah, he did. But you know that? The ends were a non-factor.
No.
They got caught inside a couple times. They've been addressing that position in the draft and free agency, and it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
Epinesa was a decent was he a second-round pick, I think. They drafted Russo. They spent on Von Miller, and they still can't get him on the ground. Until you get that guy on the ground in a key situation and end the game, and end the game and don't allow him to go drive the ball down the field.
Kill the king to end the game at chess.
And they need that. They need corners, because Benford, we don't know what he's going to be like now with concussion issues. And Douglas is
that was sad to see.
it was terrible.
And Romo hit him with the jinx.
Yeah, right before.
He was like, and love to see this guy making plays.
Yeah.
He's been out. Oh God, Jim. And Jim's
you see it right away.
Tony, why'd you say that?
We saw it right away too.
Yes.
And Douglas is a free agent, so they got problems. They'll be back though.
I wish I could put the Bears on this list, but they weren't in the playoffs this year. So
now we're going
anyways. Hey, watch your tone, buddy. Okay. Like my dad used to say at the dinner table, don't make me leap across this table. He used to say that. Okay. So now we're going to rank new head coaching hires. Obviously, Raiders hiring Pete Carroll. Jaguars brought in Liam Cohen. Duval. Jets bringing in Aaron Glenn. That's a home run. Patriots, Mike Vrabel. Bears, Ben Johnson. New Orleans Saints, nobody. So my list, my ranking, starting with the New England Patriots, bringing back one of their own, Mike Vrabel. I think it's a no-brainer there. You got a real stud at the quarterback position. Let's bolster the rest of the team. Let's bring that culture up, Dan Campbell style in New England. I think that they're going to get that. They will answer the bell.
Plus, he's done it before.
He's done it before. He's no bullshit. Right. He knows how to treat a team. Right. He knows how to handle the media.
They'll respect him.
We can't wait to hear him at the podium, because he's fantastic at the podium. Number 2, I think I've got Ben Johnson to the Chicago Bears.
Of course you do.
Look, I don't have him as number 1 because he's never been a head coach, but you go watch his body of work. You watch the way that Jared Goff responded to that offensive mastermind. And you can't help but be excited for the number 1 pick in Caleb Williams to work with a guy like Ben Johnson. And the thing I really liked about what I heard from his introductory press conference is that he's going to have an offense that's tailor-made for Caleb Williams. They're starting completely from ground zero as it pertains to their offensive game plan. And I think that's important. You can't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to have Caleb Williams. If he's a fish in this situation, they're going to be running the pond offense. You know what I'm saying?
I'm always big on that. Build your offense around what you have, not make what you have fit your offense.
And Dennis Allen, I'm going to put him into this list too, because they bring Dennis Allen in.
You got your Bear pom poms out today.
So Dennis Allen has been an above average defensive coordinator. Yes or no?
Yes.
Let's play yes or no.
Yes, but you're
Dennis Allen above average.
You're a little excited.
DC.
Today. You get a little excited.
I am excited. I'm a Bears fan. Okay, and we got the break between the championship weekend and the Super Bowl, so we can talk Bear. We can slide it in there a little bit. Dennis Allen is going to be priceless as it pertains to helping Ben Johnson navigate some of these things that
he's been a head coach before. And I think that's important.
And I remember when Nagy took the job and Fangio was in the building.
Right.
And it was like, thank God for Uncle Vic.
Right.
Because Nagy, brilliant offensive mind, great with the players. But I'm sure there's some minutia that you deal with as a head coach that you just want off my desk. And a guy like Dennis Allen can help you out with that. And then I've got Pete Carroll to the Las Vegas Raiders as the number 3 hire.
But let me ask you this. Are you ranking them on how well they're going to do?
How much I like them. Okay. How much I like the hires.
Okay. Because Pete Carroll, if he doesn't get a quarterback, he ain't winning.
But I think that's exact. I think the issue with the Raiders was that they let their team decide who the head coach should be, and they brought in Antonio Pierce, and that didn't work. But the irony is, if you were to poll the audience of former players, if you were to say, Richard Sherman, did you like playing for Pete Carroll? He'd be like, I'd sign him in a heartbeat. If you ask any of the Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch,
Russell Wilson,
the way that they went about training camp is it's a player friendly deal. Okay, they're in shorts, they're in shells, they're not beating on each other in full pads every day. I think it's conducive to that culture in Las Vegas. I think it's a good way to ease your way into being the leader in that.
The only thing I'll say to that is the 2 teams that were left in the AFC both have old school mentality when it comes to camp and preseason and everything else.
100%.
Yeah.
And my argument for going away to training camp, staying in a dorm,
I like it.
Being at a shitty college. Andy Reid loves that.
They both do it too.
The first thing they do at training camp in St. Joseph, Missouri, they take every single player from the Chiefs out there and they go wait in line. Remember when we used to run sprints in high school? There'd be, one line of 7 guys, and then behind them you fall in. So they have a 7-man sled, which you haven't seen since the Vietnam era, probably in the NFL. Usually there's 2-man sleds, 1-man sled, 4-man sled, 7-man sled. So you got Mecole Hardman next to Joe Thuney, next to Trey Smith, and they got to move this thing. And they move it the entirety of the field, the length of the field. And I think it's a great way to start practice every day and a stark reminder of the fact that we are here to get work done.
And it's like when I was at the Bills camp, I had just been at Miami's practices and they were like Camp Cupcake. And I go to the Bills and after practice, the whistle blows and they start running gassers.
Yeah, that's what New England used to do. New England built a hill on the side of their practice field. And we went and did joint practices against Belichick's Patriots. And my brother was on the team. And at the end of the practice, not only did the Patriots go run the hill, John Fox was like, you guys are going to run with the Patriots. And I remember I was running next to LeGarrette Blount and my older brother. And it was a cool thing. But to your point, you're grinding on guys for a reason. You're trying to develop a callus, okay, and a camaraderie. And we're in this shit together.
I'm a big believer in that.
And you called it the Cupcake Camp in Miami. But I would argue that with Pete Carroll, he has a method to his madness, and I'm excited to see if it works out in Las Vegas.
So you got him 3.
I trust Tom Brady. I trust that they're going to make the right decision.
They got to get a quarterback
as it pertains to the quarterback.
Who is it?
I don't know. Pete Carroll will find him.
Russell Wilson.
Chewing the hell out of that gum.
Sam Darnold.
It could be anybody. Sam Darnold did it for the Vikings this year until he didn't. And then I've got Aaron Glenn to the Jets. I feel like it's a home run.
Come home
for them.
I like. What's interesting about him? Did you see? He's not going to call the defense.
He's going to be a head coach.
Yeah.
And he's going to coach his guys.
He's going to be like Dan Campbell.
Yep. He's going to coach his guys. He's going to motivate his guys.
I like that.
He's going to let the special thinkers do the special thinking.
I like that. I enjoy it. I like a coach who allows his coaches to coach.
Liam Cohen to the Jags. I'll let you go on this one.
Look, I think we don't know about any of these guys. We have no idea. No idea.
We're darts.
Vrabel. You know Vrabel because he's been there. You know Pete Carroll because he's been there. The rest of them, we have
question
no idea.
marks.
We have no idea.
But if I were to rate him on how I like him,
here's why I think Cohen's going to be good. What he did for Baker, he's going to do for Trevor Lawrence. What Ben Johnson did for Jared Goff, that's what they're going to do. That's the kind of guys they are. They will make him that much better. They will tailor the offense about it. By the way, he said more nice things about Trevor Lawrence in that press conference yesterday than Doug Peterson said in the entire time he was there. He never propped his quarterback up ever. So I think, again, I have no idea. Was he socially awkward at his press conference? Absolutely. So was Ben Johnson. But we have no idea how they are when they. And I've talked to people inside that building, people I know very well, that say that he was impressive as hell when they sat him down.
Liam.
Yes, I'm
excited for it. And there's guys around the league. Obviously, a guy like Andrew Whitworth vouches for Liam Cohen.
And Andrew's
salt to the earth.
Yeah,
he's not going to bullshit you.
Right.
He said, I can't wait to send him this audio clip of him saying Duval all the time, 3 times a year. So it's like he's going to bust his balls. But at the same time, you should be excited about it.
I told somebody the other day, I don't know Liam Cohen. And when I do get to meet him and I see him, I'm going to say, look, I'm the mayor of Jacksonville. You need to work on your Duval.
Yeah, you got to work on it.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I think offensively he's going to be great for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. And we deserve a league where Trevor Lawrence is thriving because he's so talented.
Trevor Lawrence, DeBrian Thomas will be one of those combinations next year with Liam Cohen that we look around the league and we go, oh, that's special.
And Travis Hunter?
They need big people.
Big people.
There's only so many big people.
The last big guy I remember them getting was Luke Jokel, and
he was terrible. He was terrible. He was terrible.
He got drafted ahead of me.
Yeah, he went.
Good guy, really nice guy.
He was second. That was the worst draft. Your draft was one of the worst drafts in the history of mankind.
That's bullshit because Lane Johnson was in it.
Yeah, but okay, who else was at
Eric
the top?
Fisher was in it.
He wasn't any good.
Super Bowl champion, really solid player.
He wasn't any good.
He was a good player.
Number 1 overall.
That's a tough spot to be in.
Deion Jordan was in that.
Deion Jordan
didn't work out.
That was tough.
Go to the top of that draft. It wasn't very good.
You take anybody and bring them to Miami. It's tough to have success.
It wasn't very good.
So now we are going to talk about, we're going to power rank the desirability of offensive coordinator openings.
You didn't get my rankings.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were, you go ahead.
Okay. I would go Vrabel 1 because I think having been there and done it and had success, I think he's good. I would probably go because I think Pete Carroll's in a bad situation unless he gets a quarterback.
Yep.
So I can't put him up there. He's a great coach, but I can't put him up there. So I go 2. I think Ben Johnson steps into a great situation. I'd probably go 3, Cohn, because he has the quarterback. 4, Glenn, because they got to figure out the quarterback kind of. And then 5, Pete Carroll.
But you get Aaron Glenn, you make your strengths again.
But you ain't winning unless your quarterback's fixed.
I understand that. But if you got Aaron Rodgers, it only takes one more piece.
What job is better job, the Jets' job or the Jaguars' job?
Jaguars' job.
Because you have Trevor Lawrence.
Taxes.
And you have Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence is pretty damn good.
Yeah. So look, these guys' success, the best job of all of them might be the New England job because you have Drake May.
100%.
I mean, or Chicago because you have Caleb Williams.
Yep.
If they get or Jacksonville if you have Trevor Lawrence. The other ones aren't very good.
Question marks.
Yeah.
But there's still magic to be made, Pete.
It's hard to make magic when you don't have the magic man.
It's Vegas, baby.
No, it's hard to make magic when you don't have the magic man.
Okay.
Seriously, think about the history of this league. Teams that have won without the quarterback.
Jim Plunkett.
But he came back around and won 2. I mean, he had revived his career. Like
I'm just naming guys that aren't like
Brad Johnson.
Yep.
They were great. They had 4 Hall of Famers on defense. Trent Dilfer.
Who they beat? Kerry.
They beat Rich Gannon and the Raiders.
And Kerry Collins got beat by the Ravens? Was that?
Yeah. Okay, the Ravens with Trent Dilfer.
Yep.
Okay. The greatest accident of all time, Nick Foles.
Yeah, Nick Foles.
Not a good quarterback, but he won.
He's a good quarterback.
He was great for that run.
Not one of the best.
He was great in that run. But but that team had
a great defense.
If you have sustainable success in this league, you need the quarterback position. If you have it, you can have an aberration season, but you're not going to have sustainable success.
Like Sam Darnold, for example, had his season this year, but it fizzled out when it mattered the most.
You usually are what you are.
Yep. You ready to rank OC openings?
Yes.
Okay. So Browns, Cowboys, Texans, Jets, Buccaneers.
Okay. The number 1 ranking, OC ranking is the Texans because they have CJ Stroud.
Yep.
Number 2 is the Bucs. Number 3 is the Cowboys. Number 4 is the Jets, and number 5 is the Browns. Did we rank them the same way?
I think we got the same ranking, except I would probably flip.
You didn't have the Bucs in yours.
I would flip the Jets and the Cowboys.
You didn't have the Bucs in yours.
I put the Bucks at 2 after the
so
Texans.
we're the same. So Texans,
Bucks, you put Cowboys, then Jets, then Browns.
Yeah.
And it's because of the quarterback conversation.
Right. Yeah. I would put Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, to me, offsets the fact that CeeDee Lamb's better than Wilson and Adams. He's better than both of them. He's not better than combined. They're better, but he's better than both of them. The run game, Breece Hall was kind of a disappointment last week here. Offensive lines both have major questions.
Yes.
So I'd probably still go with Dak Prescott ahead of.
So let's go through each one of these and discuss what needs to change. So starting with the Texans, obviously the top of their list is protection.
Got to protect.
Finding out a way to protect C.J. Stroud.
It was weird. People keep saying, "Well, they got to use assets to improve the offense." They've used assets. They spent on the right guard. They drafted. They traded to get Tunzel and paid him. They drafted the left guard, was a high pick, Howard. They've used assets at that position, and so I think that was a big reason why they fired the offensive coordinator, because they didn't do a great job in protection. So yes, protection number one.
Now, the Buccaneers, obviously you got Baker Mayfield. You've got a slew of really talented skill players there, and you've got a couple offensive linemen that are absolute building blocks to have a tremendous franchise. What is it that needs to change in Tampa Bay for them to get over the hump?
They need speed. And Mike Evans has been a great receiver, but he's not going to be the
Take
speed
the top
guy.
off, no.
You look at McMillan, he's not fast. Good, not fast. Godwin, free agent. What do you do with him? Do you bring back? He's coming off a knee injury. They need speed because they can. You mentioned the offensive line. You get Barton. He's a year better next year playing center.
Yep.
I mean, the right guard's a third-year player. He's a year better. The right tackle's a third or fourth-year player. He's a year better playing tackle. And then Wirfs is left tackle. So I think they need somebody to help take the top off because they don't have that.
Okay. Jets, we've discussed ad nauseum. You got to find somebody to be able to change.
They got to improve their offensive line.
You got to get Aaron Rodgers to live in the 21st century.
Motions, pre-snap, dictate.
And was it Dan Marino that didn't like that either?
Yeah.
He didn't like, he liked stagnant. He liked to look at the defense.
Peyton didn't like it either.
And say, this is what I'm going to be playing against. Set hut and go make a play.
Peyton didn't like it either. I got these over here, this over here, and I've identified what they're going to do. And I know where I'm going with the football.
But that's not the game we're playing anymore. Offensive coordinators, if you ask them, if you sit in these meetings, they say, we want to undress the defense pre-snap. We want to get a peek of something. And we do that with motions, with different formations.
Well, because you have so many rotations on defense now. Why not, instead of allowing them to dictate to you dictate to them?
Have them react to what we're doing.
That's why I like when teams go fast, because now you're dictating to them rather than, and look, the Commanders did it. They went fast. They dictated to a lot of teams this year. I think that's the way to play. You tire them out. The opening drive in that game, the Eagles defensive linemen were sucking wind.
20 plays, bro.
Right. And you got a field goal. You got to get a touchdown on those. You got to get a touchdown.
You said playing fast. That reminds me of the Kansas City play where they went. So there's a thing in the huddle where if a quarterback says, okay, we're going to explode to, gun bunch, right, or whatever the formation is and personnel, explode to. That means when we clap our hands in the huddle, we're going to turn and sprint to the ball. Remember, they sprinted to the ball. The Bills swole up inside, thinking there's going to be a sneak, and whoop, out the back door. That's what you're talking about.
Right.
Force them to react to what we're doing.
And even do stuff at the line of scrimmage. Call your plays at the line of scrimmage. Here's the thing a lot of teams have gotten into, and I don't know if you've noticed this, the play clock coming down to nothing.
0.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? It doesn't have to be that way. Why are you allowing that? Why it's happening? Because you're reacting to what they're doing.
You want to have the perfect answer to their test.
And by the time, a lot of times you're getting down to that stage, you're getting delay of games and you dictate to them. We've become a league where the defense is now dictating to you, dictate to them.
There are certain plays that are installed for the game plan that are tagged as GVA, which is good versus all. So there's route concepts, there's running plays. No matter what they run, no matter what they line up in defensively, we are going to call it and we're going to run it. And then I would say 70% of the playbook is predicated on what they line up in. Are they in an underfront? Are they in an overfront? Are they in bear? Do they have 8 guys in the box? Box count comes into play. That's when you get all those checks at the line of scrimmage, and you drain it down to 1 second, as opposed to, hey, we're GVA here. We're going to call this play. We're going to line up and run it. I don't care if there's 12 seconds on the clock.
Right. And like if you're in 3rd and 1, you know that they're going to have extra heavy personnel in the game, and it's going to, but I still think don't allow them to sub. That's another thing.
Keep them on their heels.
Yeah. And we've got to the point where these quarterbacks are looking around. What are we doing? What are they doing? They're rotating. The safeties are they're showing single high. Now they're rotating down. Now they're going to dictate to them.
Yep.
Don't allow them to dictate to you. And I think that's where the league has gotten a little bit away from that. And that's why the scoring was down. Remember, the scoring was down a lot. And so I think you got to take it back.
And now it's back up. They're getting loose again.
Yeah, getting loose.
They're getting loose.
Well, the Commanders got loose because they play fast.
Yeah, and I love that guy, Jaden Daniels. That's why I got him on the number 2 in my power rankings for chances to make Super Bowl 60 next year. And
Hey, here's a question for you. I got a question for you. You're an offensive lineman.
I am.
Team's playing fast. The defensive linemen get tired.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't the offensive linemen get tired? You know, they always show defense hand on hips.
Offensive linemen don't get tired because we're the only position group on the field that never leaves the field, because we practice that way. We train that way. We have that mindset that no matter if the sky is falling around us, we continue to put our hand in the dirt and go play football. The defensive linemen, they're going to go get their nut for a couple plays, and they're going to get off the field and they're going to rotate.
Right.
I used to be like, go get that sad sack of shit off the sideline back. You know, the backup would come in, rush a couple times, and you say, go get your tired ass buddy to come back in here. I'm going to whoop his ass.
It's all they ever talk about is, the defensive linemen are getting tired. Well, the offensive linemen are playing the same amount of
Offensive
time.
linemen are just as tired as the defensive linemen, but in my opinion, we're mentally tougher.
Yeah.
And we're smarter.
And they don't show it as much. You don't see offensive linemen with hand on hips. And you saw the
body language is huge.
Yep.
Body language is huge. It's just like a fighter. You know what I'm saying? I went and did a couple of these MMA classes with Jay Glazer when I was coming out for the draft, and I've trained in martial arts for a long time since then. And one of the big things is between rounds, between sparring, when you're over there standing in your corner, don't put your hands on your hips. Stand tall. Breathe deep, in the nose, out the mouth, so that when that guy looks at you and he's sucking wind, he's like, what is this thing that I'm fighting against? It's like, I can't imagine being a rusher playing against Lane Johnson. The guy doesn't get tired. The guy is perfect from a technical standpoint. And add that in conjunction with the fact that he's a physical beast, physical specimen. That's got to be a tough day at the job.
Plus you kind of, if you're not going to the, you're going to get some rest when you're standing at the line of scrimmage if you're going fast too. You know what I mean? You're not, and as an offensive lineman, you go back to the huddle, you get a little more rest, but you're going to get, it's not like they're going play.
You know how you get rest? You know how you get rest? You score.
Right.
You go score.
That's always been my philosophy.
You go score. You get to the bench. You get you slap on the ass and your little bit of water. You put a dip in if you have to, and you get ready to go do it again.
Yeah.
Until they say we're done.
Exactly. And but don't go 12
That's
plays.
That's why I love offensive line, man. There's nothing like it. There is nothing like it.
Me too.
Man.
Always have.
Okay, next up, we are going to be embracing debate. Thanks for that different power ranking segment there, Pete. We'll see you right after this break.
I feel home when I see the faces that remember my own. When I'm with my friends, I feel home.
Straight up, yeah. No.
Sorry, I keep moving it down.
You're fine.
Hey, look at this. We're getting some technical help here in the studio.
I've
been tugging on the mic like this. He says, keep it upright. It needs to be upright.
Because you always thought you talk into the mic.
Yeah, like this.
Right. I'm with you.
You talk like this.
You talk like that. Hello.
I'm Kyle Long, joined alongside Pete Prisco, and here we are for the great.
And welcome to the main stage.
Hey.
No, you know that voice? And welcome to the main
And
stage.
now to the main stage. Pete. Give it up for Pete. What would be your song on that intro? What would be your song?
Smooth operator.
Hey.
Coast to coast.
LA to Chicago, down to Boca Raton. Okay, so we are doing the great debate. Topic number 1, true or false? There will be one controversial referee decision in the Super Bowl.
Okay, here's my rant on the officiating, okay? They need an extra official on the field.
Mm-hmm.
I've said that. I've argued that many a time. The game is too fast now. You need another one on there. 2, it all evens out in the end.
Yeah.
For every complaint that a Bills fan has, it'll all even out in the end. Like over the course of the next decade, you're going to get a call that you shouldn't have got, and it evens out. Is the officiating perfect? No, it's a hard game to officiate. It's a really tough game to officiate. But I think in the end, it all evens out. And so was there a bad spot? You know where the bad spot was? The bad spot was on third down. Kincaid got the first down. That was a bad spot. And it was even worse because the Bills didn't challenge that. They could have challenged that, and they didn't. They would have had a first down, and then they wouldn't have had the fourth down play. So I think it all comes back and what. The league isn't fixing it for the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
They're just damn good.
It's ridiculous.
You got arguably the greatest coach on the history, going to be maybe the greatest coach ever, and then one of the great quarterbacks, if not the greatest quarterback ever. Coach quarterback. That's how you win in this league. They're great. So don't blame the officiating. Will there be a call in the fans' mind? Absolutely, there will be a call.
Will Josh Allen win a Super Bowl as the Bills quarterback?
You say true, though, that there will be a call.
I absolutely think that there will be a call that will set Twitter ablaze.
Correct.
Because that's just the nature of the league we play in. To your point, everything happens so fast. Things look one way in real time, and then obviously on the review, it looks differently. For example, the catch on Mahomes' prayer shot to the right pylon, there was the interception that turned into a reception, but the ball hit the ground. In my opinion, that was the only call that I think was suspect as it pertains to
marking the ball was suspect.
You're talking about the sneak?
Yeah, no, the other one, the third down one.
Third down, sure.
Should have marked the ball.
I'll give you that.
Yeah,
but I thought the ball touched the ground on the old interception turned reception.
Didn't move though.
Yeah, but it touched the ground.
Yeah, it didn't move
on the ground.
Yeah, and that one was hard for me. That was a tough one. Dual possession.
It was hard for the Bills. Hard
really
for the Bills.
But they would have had a first down at the 20. By the way, it was a hold.
So while we're on this topic, is Josh Allen going to win a Super Bowl as the Bills quarterback?
Yes, absolutely.
I said if I had to bet on it, I would say no. Not only because of the AFC guys he has to beat, but let's just say he has his Bills team in the Super Bowl. Now you got to go beat Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, any number of these guys from the NFC.
Well, I mean, the odds are stacked against them, but I think Buffalo fixes the defense. They win one.
I think we could be potentially looking at our Dan Marino. Just the guy that year after year
didn't fix the defense.
Year after year throws for 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, has the ability to just have pinpoint accuracy, no moment's too big for him. But in the end, it's never him that's the reason for
right. If they don't fix I say they will, but I think Brandon Beane will fix the defense. So I think they will win one.
Do the Commanders improve next season, or do they suffer the sophomore slump?
No, they improve.
Yeah.
No question about it. They have money to spend. They're going to go get free agents. They're going to upgrade that team. And Adam Peters had a great first draft. He'll have a great second
14
draft.
wins?
Yeah. What?
14 wins this year?
No, they didn't win 14
How many games did they win?
11?
It felt like 14. But
yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm going to say it's hard to say they'll improve with how magical a season that they had. They're not going to sneak up on anybody next year. Everybody and their mom is going to be game planning for Jaden Daniels. I think he does have an uptick in production. I think he gets even better, more efficient, more effective. But at the end of the day, it's hard to match these Paramount movie style seasons that some of these teams have.
But if you look at them on the surface, the left tackle, one of the most important positions, rookie.
Yep.
Mikey Sanders still, rookie. Defensive tackle Newton, who came in and played well at the end, rookie. I mean, he had a great first draft, and I think they're only going to get better, and that includes him. They do need to get it back with juice. Brian Robinson doesn't have a lot of juice, and Eckler is like, he's stopgap. They need to get it back with some juice.
It's tough. I mean, I think Jaden Daniels comes out and lights the world on fire again. And we truly understand next year that this is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think there's probably, I was talking to my dad last night, and he said there may be 5 teams in the National Football League who would not trade their quarterback for Jaden Daniels. It's Lamar, Josh, Patrick,
Burrow,
and maybe Herbert, but I'm taking Jaden over Herbert. So it's 4 teams.
Yeah, 4.
Which is crazy to think about for a rookie quarterback.
It's unreal. The kid is special.
He's going to get better next year.
Yeah, and they need, like I said, they need to get it back. And the draft is loaded with running backs. You get one in the 3rd round, he's going to end up being a really good player.
And they were overmatched in the conference championship at the line of scrimmage.
Defensive line.
The Philadelphia Eagles really showed their teeth, and it didn't expose anything, but it really did not end well for the Commanders at the line of scrimmage.
And they got, Bobby Wagner's not a kid. A lot of those guys are on 1-year deals. They got some work to do, but Adam Peters had a really good first draft, and he has a lot of money to spend. Would you go get T. Higgins if you were them?
Yeah.
T. Higgins and McLaurin?
Either get T. Higgins or go get an absolute ass kicker on the inside.
But, you can do all that. They have like 60
Trey
million.
Smith will be available. Zach Martin might be available.
Yeah. Go get an offensive lineman.
Okay. Is Andy Reid, you were asking about this earlier, is Andy Reid the best coach of all time?
If Andy Reid wins this Super Bowl and stays on and takes down Shula, he's the best coach of all time. Because
how long does he have before he gets Shula?
He needs 3 years counting playoffs to get in, to win it, to take him
10,
down.
11 win seasons.
If he gets 11, 12 and wins in the playoffs, he's going to take him down. I think he's, what was it? He's got 302, I think it is, and he's got 340, whatever. He can take him down, 340.
So he not only on Mount Rushmore, but the biggest face on Mount Rushmore.
I mean, you got to figure if he takes him down, he's probably going to get one more Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And take him down. So he would have, counting this one, 3 in a row, which nobody done.
And then the fourth. And then the fifth coming down the pipe.
Right.
Which is the one you're talking about.
So he gets 5.
To unseat Shula.
And then take down the wins record. I think he's the greatest coach. You can't just discount what he did in Philly either.
Yep.
I mean, what did he go to 4 straight championship games?
And he got better.
Right.
He was in Philly. There were gripes about some of his game management.
The running game. He didn't run the ball enough.
Awareness.
Yeah, all of it.
And he got better.
And yes, if he wins this one, takes down Shula, he's the greatest coach of all time.
Can the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl with their power running game alone?
I would normally say yes, but I believe in Spagnuolo.
Yeah, Spags is in Spags we trust.
That's
I think on the T-shirts.
I think
City.
Spags is going to come up with something to take away not take away, because you're not taking that away, to limit it.
To mitigate some of the damage that Saquon and that offensive line can do to you.
Correct. And here's something that I find interesting. Saquon Barkley has been so good against 8-man fronts.
Yep.
Why play him in an 8-man front? Let your safeties tackle. Don't let them have, let them face them.
Take a page out of the Vic Fangio playbook and bend, but don't break.
But let them face them. They got to tackle now, but you got to face them. And I think that's something that I think Spagnuolo is going to have a plan to limit. He's not going to have the 65-yard run. He's not going to have that.
The real question is, do the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes start hot like they did in the AFC Championship game, going down the field with such pinpoint accuracy, methodically, boom, 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 boom. Now you're Nick Sirianni, you're Kellen Moore, and you're thinking to yourself, we're in a shootout now. I don't know if we can just run the football.
But isn't their shootout his runs?
Yeah, but if you go down 7-10 points, are you going to just stick to the basics and continue to run the football?
I would. And in that offense, I would. Normally, I'd say you're right. But in that offense, you have to.
If Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Joe Tooney, Caliendo, Jawan Taylor are rolling these guys off the ball,
right,
and they mitigate the strength of your defense, which is that front,
right,
I think it's going to be a throw the football game for Jalen Hurts, and he's going to have to outperform Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
And he did the last time,
which he's done, but he fumbled,
right, but he did it the last time, and so
didn't get a ring.
But yeah, knowing Spagnuolo, he's going to make Hurts beat him. And if he beats him, he beats him. Where do you put Chris? Chris Jones lines up a lot of everywhere, but he spent a lot of time on the left tackle the other day.
I talked to J.J. Watt about this prior to the Bills game, and I said, how can the Bills offensive unit frustrate Chris Jones and take the strength away for this Kansas City Chiefs defense? And he said and I said, look, Chris Jones to me reminds me of you, JJ, because you don't know where he's going to line up. He is a 5-star player at any position that he lines up on, left, right, inside, outside. And he shrugged off the compliment, and then he said, look, you can't scheme for a guy and you don't know where he's going to line up. And he has the freedom to move when he sees the formation. And Chris Jones is that player coach. He's just as smart as he is talented. So in terms of the Eagles trying to scheme up something to take him out of the game, I think it's going to be really tough.
But where do you line him up? Where does he line up at? Where does he choose to line up at?
I line him up over the right guard.
That's where I'd line him up at.
I line him up over the right guy.
Yeah, I don't want to go against either one of the tackles because, but he spent a lot of time on the left tackle the other day, which Deion Dawkins is a good player. He spent a lot of time over there, so he tends to he likes to go against the better guys. It's just weird.
Most of these good players like to line up against the fish in the group, which is the guy that can be had. But I think Chris Jones kind of relishes the opportunity to go after the best guys. So we could see some of that heavyweight showdown between Lane Johnson and Chris Jones, Jordan Mailata and Chris Jones. And that's going to be pay-per-view TV. They should charge extra for that cam right there.
And he's got to have a monster game.
Yeah. And he always does, man.
Oh, he shows up in the big games.
The
all the
guy
time.
shows up in the biggest of moments. And when you want to slide to him and bring two sets of hands, 4 hands on him, Karlaftis is going to win his 101.
Right.
Turk Wharton wins his 101.
He's played well, Morton.
Yeah.
He's played well for him.
Turk's a tough out.
Yep.
So we're going to go one more here. This is going to be we'll go 2 more quick ones. We'll be quick on this.
Okay.
Should the NFL forbid coaching hirings of currently playing OCs and DCs until after the Super Bowl?
No. Look, that whole narrative that it takes some focus away from
Game plan.
Come on, the plan's in by Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Wednesday you install it. The game's on Sunday. If it's on Saturday, you install it the day before. Friday afternoon. What are you doing Friday afternoon? After everybody does the walkthrough for the game, they have time.
You lift at 1 and then you go home.
They have time.
Yep.
It's not that overwhelming. So no.
Okay, so we are going to do one more here. This is, are you for the NFL playing Super Bowls in cold weather cities if they have a dome? A la Minnesota.
I'm okay with that.
Chicago, when they make.
Do I prefer it? No, I hate the cold, but I'm okay with it just to spread it around a little bit. I'll be honest with you. I thought the one in New York was really well done. I enjoyed that one. And that game was actually outside. So.
What's your favorite Super Bowl venue?
New Orleans is. It's the easiest.
I've heard that before.
It's the easiest. It's everything is right, walkable. It's simple. Now the stadium isn't the best, but they've made renovations to it, and I love New Orleans. Vegas was good last year.
Vegas is good. Let's draft these after a quick break. I think this is a good conversation to have.
All right.
Okay, so we'll join you after a quick break here. I'm with Pete Prisco. Thanks for hanging out.
Welcome to JJ's.
I'll have a... Wait, there's no way I can get a burger?
No chance. But you can have the NFL on CBS streams live on Paramount+. Oh, hang on. There's a toy.
So Pete Prisco, one thing that you don't know about Pete, he's part of that group of old guys that goes to every single Super Bowl.
This will be my 36th. No, come on. No, not everyone.
Your roster shrinks every year.
not that. But I did something that a lot of people didn't do to keep the streak alive. I made the COVID Super Bowl in Tampa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Masked up.
Yeah. It was
double masked.
It was like an exhibition game.
Double vax, double mask.
It was like an exhibition game.
There's nobody there.
No, it was terrible.
Okay, so we are going to draft the best Super Bowl cities right now, and I'm going to go first. And I'm actually going to take New Orleans. You said New Orleans, but they're the top of my draft board. Now you go.
I'm going to take Vegas. I thought Vegas did a great job with the Super Bowl. Everything was centrally located. I thought it was fantastic.
And CBS covered it.
Right. It was great.
So
right on the fountain.
I was
right
right
on
there at the fountain. It was cold as shit by that fountain.
It was nasty.
The wind was blowing.
It was great. I
was getting spit on by that fountain the whole day.
You didn't come on with us, though.
No, you know what? Funny enough, my wife gave birth to our second daughter right there the week before. So I was on like the red eye. I was in the hospital, helped deliver the baby, got the baby home, and then I was.
So you were there all week, weren't you?
I was like half the week.
Oh.
Because we had some guys fill in for me. Cam Jordan filled in for me. And now my producer at Tops is like, Cam Jordan was so good. Oh,
you got replaced.
You should
Wally
sign
Pip.
Cam Jordan.
Wally Pip.
The damn show.
Mike Renner, Wally Pip. You're Wally Pip.
I'm going to go Miami.
I live here. I love the area. I think the Super Bowl is too spread out when it's in Miami.
You know what I like about Miami? The weather. It's great.
The weather's great.
And when I was there, it was right after I retired. So I was like 270. I was skinny. I was feeling good. So
you're on South
everywhere.
Beach.
I walked to Radio
in your
Row
bikini. In your bikini bathing suit. Is that true?
Yeah, I had a bikini bathing.
No, you did not.
Yeah, bikini.
No,
a little zinc on the nose.
You've never worn that.
I actually went to a bachelor party for my buddy.
As a joke, though.
And I was one of the groomsmen, and they got us all Speedos with our faces on them. And I did wear a Speedo one time.
As a joke.
It's a freeing feeling to wear a Speedo.
As a joke.
I don't know if it was a joke.
Come on. You know what I do when I'm on the beach with my wife?
I chafe when I wear Speedos.
And my wife will go, she'll hit me and I go, oh.
Speedo.
And he's like, shouldn't be wearing it.
Looking like a leather bag out there.
And he's got more hair than a grizzly bear.
That's me. I think you might have seen me at South Beach.
You're the sweater on the beach guy?
Yeah, sweater on the beach.
No.
Can't help it.
So as soon as we see like you walk by, we're like, I gotta go to my wife. He needs to take his sweater off. It's a little hot for the sweater.
Euro look, Pete. I figured you would be down.
No,
you're the classic Paisan.
I got no hair. I'm a hairless
You're
Italian.
a hairless Italian.
Yeah.
That's
sweater on the beach, dude. Take it off. Take it off. It's hot.
You're the exception to the rule. You can't even put on sunscreen because then you get sand all over you from the sunscreen and everything like that.
Remember the old days you used to put baby oil on and go out there.
That's to accentuate this.
Yeah.
I just was reading the other day that sunscreen is terrible for you.
Supposedly.
Maybe
everything's terrible for
We'll do
you.
another pod of things that are bad for you that
Okay.
they've tried.
Okay, so it's my pick for the Super Bowl
Yes.
city. You took Miami,
We did New Orleans, you did,
Vegas.
and Miami.
I'm gonna go. See, I do these selfishly because I like it close, everything nearby, and it's not good spread out. So I'll take LA. Was actually pretty good because it was condensed. So I'll take LA.
LA's cool.
The stadium was great. The new stadium was great. By the way, I've been to Super Bowls in Pasadena way back in the day when they played them in the Rose Bowl.
Uh-huh.
And that one was really spread out all over the place. Think about this, how times have changed. On media day, they had a police escort and shut the freeway for the media to get to the media day. They wouldn't do that now. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking over, I'm going, could you imagine if you're like racing your wife to the hospital to give birth and you got to stop because the media is going to media
I'd be
day?
so pissed.
Of course.
I'd be like, fuck you, Pete Prisco.
Yeah. Well, no, I was like in the
Hope
back.
you miss your interview, asshole. Okay, so I'm going to go Houston. I believe this was Atlanta, New England, 28-3. Was that Houston?
Was that Houston?
I
No,
forget.
that was in Atlanta. No, you're right. It might have been.
I was post-op I had a horrible leg injury, and I was on one of those scooters. And you talk about ease of access. It was the easiest Super Bowl ever in terms of being able to get to different places.
Houston was very good for that. I would agree with you.
I love that. And Houston, great folks. State of Texas, highly underappreciated, underrated.
I would give you that one. Okay, I'm going to go from being right in the middle of everything, easy access, get to the game. I'm going to go with the New York. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I thought you're in Manhattan. I mean, come on. There's so much stuff.
That's wild.
It was great. In the media, radio.
When was that?
Was the Broncos Seahawks. So that was.
Got it.
Yeah. So that Super Bowl, the Radio Row was inside the hotel. So all you do is go down the aisle right there. And you were right in the middle of Manhattan.
For those of you who don't know, Radio Row is essentially every sports media member that you follow on Twitter, that you see on Facebook, that you see on YouTube. They are all congregated in one giant, I would say, like an expo center. You know, when you go to those car shows, you go to, there's a million tables, there's a billion people. That's Radio Row.
And that's where they bring all the stars and stuff come through there.
You're rubbing elbows with some really cool people, some people that you're probably like, you know, I don't want to see that guy.
Right.
That's Radio Row. So
yeah, that Radio Row was there, and it was.
And you'll see us there
next week, Wednesday
in New Orleans.
Yes.
If you didn't catch Pete on the promo,
you didn't. No face of me on that promo. I'll be there though.
I'm going to go with Glendale. And I say
spread out.
It's at the bottom of my my rankings. Glendale is another city. It's Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tempe, and then Glendale is like over here somewhere. It's like an hour drive from anywhere, 45 minutes from the hotel, all that stuff. But saving grace, you're in Arizona in the wintertime. It's fantastic.
It's cold there in the wintertime, though.
Get a couple tea time. Go get you a Travis Matthews zip up. You'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, I have one.
I got a couple.
Yeah, I know you do.
Well, that was fun. Without Mike Renner.
Can I say the worst Super Bowl city of all time?
Worst.
By far and away. It's not even close. Not even close.
Detroit.
Jacksonville.
Okay.
And having lived there for so many years, they were just not ready for it. There weren't enough hotels. They put people on cruise ships.
Stop.
They brought
That's my nightmare.
They brought people in on cruise ships and they housed them on the cruise ships.
Oh, imagine losing the Super Bowl, having to go stay on your cruise ship and getting seasick and just vomiting from two different reasons.
Terrible. So
that is awful.
They weren't ready for it. They shouldn't they should not have had the Super Bowl when they had it. And I lived in that city. I love that city. It was just a terrible Super Bowl.
Pete, I'm not gonna lie to you. I got to pee a little bit, so I'm gonna wrap this show.
Wrap it.
That's the end of the show. We'll be back Thursday with Lige Douzable and Mike to talk about the Senior Bowl, which is where they're at right now. We're gonna find out about the future of the NFL. Remember to like, comment, subscribe on our YouTube page. We're brand new, so we need everyone to get the word out. For everyone listening to the audio only version, make sure you download, follow, leave a 5-star review, and tell your friends to listen /watch the pod.
Now on the main
Until next
stage.
time.
Now on the main stage.
Keep pushing. Peace.